Good evening and welcome to Inside City Hall for Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. I'm Bobby Kuza in for Errol Lewis. We are less than a month away from Inauguration Day here in the city when Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani will be sworn in. But Mamdani's promise to arrest Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu could be tested, as Netanyahu told the New York Times today that he will test the waters and visit the Big Apple under Mamdani. Our State House reporter Bernadette Hogan joins me now with tonight's top story. Good evening, Bernadette. Good evening, Bobby. So this will be one of the first tests of Mamdani's promises on the campaign trail, and some of those promises actually that he made when he was just a backbench state assemblyman who was able to tweet and comment on a whole host of things regarding state, local, and international politics. Now rubber will meet the road as the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he will visit New York City under a Zohran Mamdani administration. Now, Mamdani has said that he would uphold a request from an international tribunal to arrest Netanyahu for alleged war crimes tied to the Israel-Hamas war and Israel's conflict in Gaza. Mamdani has, of course, been a very vocal critic of Israel and their actions towards Gaza. Let's take a listen to what Netanyahu had to say earlier today with the New York Times.
Well, why don't you wait and see? Yes, I'll come to New York. Okay.
Would you want to talk to him, by the way?
Well, you know, if he changes his mind and says that we have the right to exist, that'll be a good opening for a conversation.
Just right there, Netanyahu wants Mamdani to recognize Israel as a Jewish state. Mamdani has said that Israel itself has a right to exist. Of course, this will be an ongoing conversation, Bobby. But I also want to bring up a conversation that Governor Kathy Hochul also had earlier today on Fox 5, where she talked about her conversations with the incoming Mamdani administration, everything from universal child care to crime and public safety. And she brought up a topic about how the state right now is funding a portion of NYPD overtime, mainly cops that are policing the subways. This has been a huge priority for the governor, especially in light of several horrific attacks, out of the ordinary attacks, frankly, along the system during her time in office. Let's take a listen to how she described those goals.
We fund a lot of programs. He'll be coming to Albany, like all the mayors do, asking for financial support and making sure that we continue investing in the subway system and safety there. And we're seeing dramatic changes in the investments that I have made in supporting police overtime, so there's more police officers visible. Hundreds of millions of dollars to make sure that every train has a camera on it. And right now, we have had the safest few months in a row in recorded history on our subways. We want to keep that going. So I talked to him about public safety as well.
So although the governor is talking about areas of perceived agreement, right? You know, she says that she'll continue to assist the city with funding opportunities, but she's striking on a specific chord that Mamdani has said he would try to diminish, which is police overtime. Mamdani's very opposed to cops continuing to rake in billions of dollars, or rather millions of dollars, right? Larger portion of the overtime budget right now associated with the NYPD's budget. It also has to do with whether or not he will hire new officers. Right now, the NYPD is budgeted for 35,000 cops. They're a little under, around 33, and how the overtime conversation will reflect that.
Right. I mean, to be fair, it's not a Zohran Mamdani, it's not only his position to cut down on police overtime. I mean, it seems to be universally recognized. The NYPD is routinely like hundreds of millions of dollars over budget on police overtime. But yeah, I mean, to the point, Kathy Hochul tries to present herself as tough on crime, right? Putting National Guard in the subway. And that's not a point of emphasis for Mamdani. So, I mean, clearly that is going to be one point of possible disagreement.
Right, exactly. And when you're talking about criminal justice and public safety, that's one of the areas that Governor Hochul was weak on, frankly, ahead of her 2022 re-election bid. And she was able to turn that conversation around, which is part of the reason why she really has had to come up with the appearance and then also the funding to assist with the NYPD and public safety on the subways. And I misspoke earlier, I said billions and millions. Hundreds of millions,
right, exactly. But regardless, you know, whenever you're looking at the city's projected proposed budget every single year, you always, as a reporter, you always go to see how much overtime is reflected in the NYPD budget. And Mamdani has said that he wants to cut back on that. But part of that, Bobby, it has to do with, again, the hiring conversation. The problem is the city's not getting as many interested would-be cops signing up for the police academy, which will be another big thing that the administration will have to deal with.
And as far as Netanyahu, I mean, I think I remember Mamdani being asked about this on the campaign trail and doubling down and saying that he would have Netanyahu arrested. But I mean, if he really shows up in the city, I don't know. I mean, this could be a major international story if he actually follows through, which, you know, a lot of people have said the NYPD has no jurisdiction to even try to do this. You would have to get the police commissioner to go along. I mean, this is a very thorny topic.
Right. And even, you know, if you look at the arrest warrant, it's by the International Criminal Court, which the United States is not beholden to. It's not a part of. Actually, the current administration has been very critical of that body. So largely, the arrest would be symbolic if Mamdani would be to arrest, if he were to arrest Netanyahu under that warrant itself. But regardless, I mean, it's definitely going to cause a massive stir, especially if you see how much police presence and security that even just UN officials cause when they come into New York. This will be a circus, frankly, Bobby.
Yeah. All right, Bernadette Hogan, thank you so much for that report. Starting next Monday, if you use the F or M trains to travel between Queens and Manhattan, you may be taking a different train. The routes of the F and M are swapping, affecting where each train stops in Western Queens and the first few stops in Manhattan. It is meant to reduce delays. And New York One Transit reporter Samantha Liebman joins me now with the details on that story. Good evening, Samantha.
Good evening, Bobby. Well, this swap is to detangle a major choke point at Queens Plaza, and making this change will mean fewer trains converging on each other and will also improve performance on the E and the R. The signs are up, and even the permanent signage is being changed. The M will soon be stopping at the Queensbridge 21st Street station, currently served by the F. The MTA says the F and M swap will improve service.
I mean, I guess I'll pay attention once the changes start, but you know, I won't be able to tell until it's actually in effect.
I don't really experience that much congestion, but if it helps, then that's great.
Customer service ambassadors were busy handing out flyers Wednesday to alert commuters about the switch, which is being done to alleviate train congestion.
There's a merge at Queens Plaza, which is a choke point, which creates all kinds of crossing and throughput problems, and which actually causes a ton of delays. It's going to increase reliability for 1.2 million riders who use these trains every day.
Currently, the F goes through the 63rd Street Tunnel and essentially crosses the E, M, and R. The M goes through the 53rd Street Tunnel and must also compete with other lines and tracks. Starting Monday, they will switch tunnels and eliminate those issues.
If you're heading towards Queens on an F train, you could leave this station at Queensbridge and be stopped ahead waiting for an E train to cross in front of you. With the service change that starts on Monday, that type of delay is a thing of the past.
It means several stops on each line will change. The M will stop at Queensbridge 21st Street, then Roosevelt Island and 63rd and Lex and 57th Street. The F will now stop at Queens Plaza, Court Square, Lexington and 53rd and 5th and 53rd. The southbound service starting at Rockefeller Center will stay the same, but it may inconvenience some riders.
Thanks a lot.
Now, this is set to start on Monday and will only be in effect weekdays from 6 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. Overnights and weekends will remain the same.
So, Sam, let me ask you about another story that got a bit of attention. Yesterday, Jano Lieber talked about changing the way that fares are enforced on the bus system, right? Tell us about that a little bit.
So he's talking about European-style pay validators. So they're handheld validators. They can check your credit card. They can check your Omni card or whatever you use, Google or Apple Pay, to see if you paid on the bus. He says they can't really do it now because people are still paying with change. So, and also the Metro card as well. So they're going to start the this next year when everything is tapped to pay. But I just have to mention, he said it yesterday, but it was mentioned in the April 28th board meeting that this was coming. It wasn't news to us transit reporters.
Well, and then, you know, one obvious question, especially for us who closely follow politics, is we're now enforcing fares on the buses, and we've got the new mayor coming in saying he wants to eliminate the fares altogether. So, I mean, how is this going to play out, do we think?
I think that Janno Lieber has made it clear he's not a fan of free buses, and he prefers targeted affordability measures like fair fares. And I think in this election year, this is my own personal opinion, that the governor, you know, she's going to be seen as giving something for free to bus riders in New York, but what about the commuter rails as well? Well, there's no fair fares on the commuter rails. I see her actually expanding fair fares with state money to the commuter rails, to city ticket, and possibly even increasing the subsidy and the eligibility requirements within the city limits.
Right. And I mean, always worth repeating that the mayor is not in charge of the subway system and will clearly need buy-in from the governor and possibly from, you know, from the MTA leadership if the idea of free buses is really going to get anywhere.
That's right. Janno Lieber has also said on our air that there's a lot of considerations and that maybe a $700–800 million cost now could be $1 billion in the out years. And, you know, it's not just the lost fare revenue. It's also that you may have to get more buses, more drivers, increase service, and that is a cost as well.
And by the way, while I have you, the casinos that are now moving very quickly forward and appear poised for approval, these 3 casino projects are going to bring in a lot of money for the MTA. I mean, is that really going to have a real impact on the service that riders are going to see?
Well, they have already budgeted that money for 2026, 2027, and 2028, about $500 million, $500 million, and $600 million. So basically that money is already spent. It's for the operating budget, not for capital improvements, which is really important because, you know, wages go up. A lot of that budget is to pay wages and benefits as well as their bond debt. So this is really important money, and they are definitely banking on it, and it will certainly help the MTA at least for the next few years. We have to see what the tax revenue is after that.
Right. All right, Samantha Lieberman, thank you so much for that report. It is time now for a break. Coming up in the wake of the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, the city's Young Republicans organization is seeing a boost in interest. We'll explain in a report straight ahead. And later tonight, I will talk about concerns surrounding the NYPD's surveillance technology with a leading privacy advocate. Stay with us. We are back in a minute.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day with in-depth coverage of the day's developing news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following this morning.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Some morning sunshine possible, clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One, weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum customers.
Spectrum TV, isn't that only live TV?
No, it's only all my favorite streaming apps with live TV.
Okay.
It's only all included at no extra cost. And that's the magic of math. Will this be on the test? Sure. Why not?
It's only one simple payment for all our TV. We gotta simplify and win. Winning is equally important.
If not, more so.
Yeah!
Only Spectrum TV, fixed TV.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning. You done with the sports section?
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s. But showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Since the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, the New York Young Republican Club is seeing new interest. And that is bringing more scrutiny from Democrats of young conservatives following a leaked text message scandal and their support for right-wing parties abroad. Our Dan Rivoli spent some time with the club, and he joins me now with a closer look. Good evening, Dan.
Good evening, Bobby. So we all know about Zohran Mamdani's youth movement, but in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's killing, there's been a new interest in conservatives here in New York City looking to find community of fellow conservatives, and they're finding it at the New York Young Republican Club. It's one of the oldest Republican clubs, but there has also been some fresh scrutiny about what the new right means here in New York City.
Let me see all the new members in the room. Raise your hand.
These are some of the roughly 100 people who joined the New York Young Republican Club after the murder of Charlie Kirk, the conservative youth activist who founded Turning Point USA. This mixer held on what would have been Kirk's 32nd birthday.
A lot of you want to get involved in honor of him. I'm here to tell you that you have found the right place.
While Zohran Mamdani was leading a youth movement in his march to victory in the mayor's race, the 114-year-old GOP club was opening its doors to disaffected young conservatives.
The day that Charlie Kirk got assassinated, that just really resonated, it triggered something in me.
John Gillen, a 33-year-old conservative Christian, was looking for community in a city where his peers are largely progressive, if not socialist.
For me, it was personally important to try to come to this organization, connect with other conservatives, and just be here for each other, to support each other, and say that it's okay to be a conservative in New York City at a time we're about to elect a communist.
We've got that New York attitude, that New York fight. This club is truly the child of the MAGA movement.
Stefano Forte, 27, leads a club that is firmly with President Trump's brand of republicanism, the New Right.
The New Right is this, I would say, nationalist group of young people that believe in our country. It's more than just the country club republicanism of lowering taxes, and we're just gonna, we're gonna play the game in order to be honorable. This is about winning.
Honorability among young Republicans is under scrutiny since a report from Politico on leaked group chat texts from members of a rival state-level club making jokes about gas chambers and slavery. The independently run city club denounced the messages. Democrats, meanwhile, want Republican officials to answer for the club's international relations with right-wing populist parties like Alternative for Germany, denounced by liberals here and abroad as a neo-Nazi party. Cue the top spokesperson for Governor Hochul's re-election campaign on her Republican rival, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. Stefanik won't condemn hate in her own party. We know that by now, but normal people who aren't far-right freaks see what's happening here and reject it. Still, the young Republicans plan to test that contention.
Socialism is not realistic. It does not work.
At campuses like Baruch College.
Come talk to us, debate us if you disagree.
Here, the young Republicans joined with the Turning Point USA chapter before the mayoral election.
Priorities show how a new generation of millennials and Gen Zers are not just in the backyard of Zohran Mamdani. You're not Zohranistas.
Among the students, Ron Kalashi, who says he leans right.
It's really true that liberals often are more outspoken, and that can often result in conservatives, and young conservatives specifically, to hide their opinions. And specifically with Charlie Kirk's death, I think that truly has shifted the weight. I think people are more willing to voice their opinion.
Ultimately, the election was a disappointment for Republicans. As Forte put it,
mollywopped.
Now the club looks to the governor's race, where Stefanik is the leading Republican. Forte said Republicans need to promote their affordability agenda.
Perhaps that means going so far as saying, look, we are going to forgive student debt, right? I think that's something that as a Republican Party, many people will be able to get behind.
And Forte told me that he wants Republicans to rally around Stefanik, and he wants to be a part of the campaign's necessary effort to get at least 35% of the vote here in New York City for a Republican to prevail statewide. Now, we reached out to the Stefanik campaign for comment on the young Republicans, and the statement from Kathy Hochul's campaign, they didn't get back to us, but Forte did send me over a statement, Bob, and I just want to read a little bit of it, saying that Democratic extremist rhetoric has already led to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, as well as multiple attempts on Trump, saying that these immoral leftists still won't disavow the flames of violent extremist rhetoric that they fan openly. So you see with conservatives, they really do feel the criticism from progressives that they're Nazis and fascists is directing the violence against conservatives like you see with Charlie Kirk. That's how the young Republicans see it.
And Dan, I mean, one of the students alluded to the fact that they're kind of in the shadows, right? They're not as outspoken because they feel like they're outnumbered. Did you get that sense from talking to people? And were some of them even reluctant to talk to you for a TV segment?
No, actually, they were quite open, and they were interested in community. As they said, multiple people had said they were interested in meeting fellow conservatives. A lot of them used to be Democrats. One had told me he was a college leftist. Now he's a conservative. And so they are really looking to find that community. I think with Charlie Kirk's death, they want to meet some like-minded folks.
Interesting stuff. All right, Dan Rivoli, thank you so much. It's time now for a break. Coming up, the Trump administration is pausing applications for immigrants from 19 countries. Stay with us.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
At Spectrum News, we're committed to strengthening the fabric of local communities through our reporting, with stories that inspire and news that matters on your smart TV and connected devices, streaming live 24/7, plus on-demand weather forecast to help you stay prepared. It's all there as you step outside with the Spectrum News mobile app, keeping you informed and in the know throughout your day. Spectrum News, free with your Spectrum subscription, exclusively for Spectrum customers, now available on your favorite devices.
It's only a hike. It's only made possible by Spectrum Business connecting healthcare providers of all sizes. Like hospitals relying on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network with industry-leading reliability. Practices keeping patient data safe with advanced security. Pharmacies accessing records in the cloud without fail. It's tailored connectivity solutions built for life-changing moments. It's only a hike. It's only everything. Spectrum Business.
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time.
And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard. At first, we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan.
Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
From my time growing up in Queens watching New York 1 to my time reporting here, I've seen how quickly a story can change. At News All Day, we bring you the news as it's happening, from around the boroughs to local government to your neighborhood. Because our city never stops moving.
3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Shannon Ferry with the day's developing stories. But first, stay up to date and informed with News All Day, weekdays from noon to 4.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. The Trump administration says it is pausing immigration applications from 19 countries and reviewing benefit requests by some immigrants already in the U.S. The crackdown is a result of last week's shooting of 2 National Guard members, allegedly by an Afghan national who had been granted asylum last spring. Spectrum News national political reporter Taylor Popolars joins me now from outside the White House with the latest on that story. Good evening, Taylor.
Good to be with you, Bobby. This is the latest escalation related to immigration enforcement from the Trump administration. It's unclear what types of legal challenges the president will face, but he's not only doubling down in terms of these steps he's taking, he's also ramping up some charged rhetoric specifically geared against immigrants from Somalia. A Department of Homeland Security memo explains all immigration applications from 19 countries for things like green cards and naturalizations are being paused indefinitely. These are the 19 countries on the list, mostly in Africa and the Middle East. They faced a travel ban or restricted access earlier this year, but this latest effort goes much further. The Trump administration describes the countries as high risk and says it's the result of last week's shooting of 2 National Guard members near the White House, allegedly by an Afghan national who was living in the U.S. legally. President Donald Trump zeroed in on immigrants from Somalia Tuesday, berating them with hostile and insulting language, and singling out Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, the first Somali American in Congress from the state with the largest Somali population.
Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. When they come from hell and they complain and do nothing but we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.
Census data shows nearly 90% of foreign-born Somalis in Minnesota are naturalized U.S. citizens. Omar responded on social media, saying the president's obsession with me is creepy. I hope he gets the help he desperately needs. On Wednesday, the president said the duly elected congresswoman and her, quote, friends should not be allowed to serve.
They shouldn't even be allowed to be congresspeople, because they don't represent the interests of our country.
Other Democrats say the administration should not make sweeping immigration policy changes based on the nationality of an alleged gunman.
Don't use the broad brush to go after all Somalis and say they contribute nothing. That kind of a statement it's just a symbol of a sad and diseased mind.
Now, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services is the agency that's overseeing this pause, and they said that within the next 90 days, they're going to assemble a list of immigrants whose reviews will be prioritized. At the same time, the Trump administration says it is actively reviewing approved benefits that immigrants who are already in this country received or applied for under President Joe Biden's administration. The Trump administration also says they're reviewing green card applicants from that time from these countries that they're claiming are high risk. So there's a lot of moving pieces here, Bobby.
And Taylor, you mentioned there could be legal challenges. I mean, talk a little bit about the legalities here. I mean, does the executive branch have carte blanche to enact these kinds of changes to immigration policy? I mean, what would be the argument against this?
So it's frankly been pretty dizzying over the last 11 months trying to keep track of every immigration measure President Trump puts in place, and then the lawsuits that follow, the lower court rulings that then come out, and then some of these cases end up going to the Supreme Court. Almost daily we're getting updates. Some are specific to certain cities or certain states. Others are blanket injunctions. So when I say it's unclear what type of legal challenges will be faced, we're kind of waiting to hear from the immigrant advocacy groups that have been fighting all of these before this latest round of pauses and bans was put into place. So it's a bit of an unknown moving forward, but the Trump administration has had a kind of a hot and cold record in court over the last 11 months related to these efforts.
All right, Taylor Poplar is in Washington, D.C., outside the White House. Thank you so much for that report. It is time now for a break. Coming up, I will be joined by a leading privacy advocate to discuss growing concerns with NYPD surveillance technology and how they're hoping the incoming mayor will approach the issue. Stay with us.
In Focus with Cheryl Wills. A weekly show discussing decisions and potential solutions for issues making an impact in your community and your city. If it's important to New Yorkers, then it's being talked about here. In Focus with Cheryl Wills. Sunday mornings at 10:30 on New York One.
It's only a slice. It's only made possible by Spectrum, connecting businesses of all sizes, like small businesses, instantly serving up orders and inventory on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network, and factories, seamlessly connecting to farmers in the field with tailored solutions that always deliver. It's only a slice. It's only everything. Get your business free fiber-powered internet forever. Call to find out how.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakimick, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. My service never stops.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our New York City community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Privacy advocates have been sounding the alarm on law enforcement surveillance for years now, and they hope to have an ally in Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani. But surveillance was absent from the mayor-elect's campaign platform, and his pick for police commissioner, Jessica Tisch, was a leading architect behind the NYPD surveillance technology. My next guest intends to hold the incoming mayor accountable for his promises to protect civil liberties. Michelle Dahl is the executive director of the nonprofit group Surveillance Technology Oversight Project, or STOP, and she joins me now to talk all about that and more. Welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So talk a little bit about this lawsuit that you guys have filed. You have filed a lot of lawsuits, but this pertains to DAS, the Domain Awareness System, which people may not know a lot about, but this is basically the network of surveillance cameras that blankets much of the city, right? Talk about the issues with the DAS.
Yeah, it's more than just cameras. It's tens of thousands of cameras, but also license plate readers, facial recognition technology, social media monitoring, and it amalgamates all of these data points into hundreds of thousands of data points on everyday New Yorkers. So we're challenging that based on the Fourth and First Amendments that it requires a warrant for this type of surveillance that really tracks everyday New Yorkers, every movement throughout the city, but also inhibits their First Amendment protected activity. People are afraid to go to protests if they know they're going to be spied on there. They're afraid to take part in religious activities that might associate them with certain people. So it's really an invasive technology, panopticon really, that's taking over the city that most people are unaware of just how far it reaches.
So of course, I think you would hear law enforcement counter that a lot of this is necessary for whether it's counterterrorism or in some cases solving crimes, right? Tracking down suspects in crimes, around the city. Is that something that, you guys take issue with? I mean, it is clearly helpful in some crime solving, right?
Well, we've definitely seen it been used in certain circumstances, but the question isn't really surveillance or no surveillance. It's, do these systems actually make us safer without taking away our freedoms? And what we know is that these systems are really great at tracking folks on an everyday basis, but they're not great at preventing harm. What we do know is they introduce opportunities for error, for bias and discrimination, and for abuse, and at the cost of diverting resources away from things that create true public safety, like affordable housing, healthcare, jobs, and education.
So talk a little bit about Jessica Tisch, who we mentioned, the police commissioner who will be staying on the job under Mayor-elect Mamdani. I mean, she really was instrumental when she was previously at the NYPD. She was basically in charge of all of these high-tech policing tools, and now she's staying on as police commissioner. Obviously, she will have oversight and control over all of these systems. I mean, I guess, first of all, do you guys feel like it was a mistake for Zohran Mamdani to keep her on as commissioner?
We're definitely concerned about her remaining on as commissioner, just given her role in expanding the massive surveillance state that New York is facing right now. But Mamdani has a chance to rein in this power and set himself apart from Mayor Adams and draw hard lines for the NYPD around their use of surveillance. He's got the opportunity to scale back the DAS system and all of the tracking that goes along with it. and invest those resources into more public safety, community holistic models that truly make people safer. So while we're concerned about what the commissioner's appointment means, we're anxious to see what Mamdani actually does to deliver on his promise to make New York a place for everybody.
So, I mean, talk about that because, you know, as we mentioned, Mamdani, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, hasn't talked a lot about police surveillance. And it seems in his comments over the last few weeks that he is going to give Jessica Tisch, you know, a lot of leeway in terms of her decision-making as police commissioner. I mean, Mamdani has talked about how he doesn't like to micromanage people. I mean, what would you like to see from Mamdani? What can you expect from him?
Yeah, well, he was a great ally, actually, for privacy advocates when he was a legislator. He worked on the Stop Fakes Act, which kept police officers from using fake social media profiles to spy on people. And while we're concerned about his commitment to anti-surveillance work now moving forward, we are anxious to see what he will do with Tisch in place. But organizations like STOP are ready to keep him accountable for transparency's sake, no matter what role he ends up taking with the commissioner with anti-surveillance work moving forward. What we'd like to see is a rollback of these surveillance tools, including the domain awareness system, a stop completely to all data sharing with ICE and federal agencies that target the very vulnerable communities in New York, and a reinvestment of resources into true public safety that's community focused.
And you know, talk a little bit about some, you know, some specific examples of times we've seen when maybe the surveillance technology has been misused or abused. I know there was a lawsuit by STOP and Amnesty International that resulted in a lot of documents being released that detailed, you know, some instances of this. And, you know, also recently we heard about the NYPD collaborating with the FBI, basically surveilling people who had gone to immigration court and were court watchers there. So, I mean, where have we seen the NYPD crossing the line?
Well, there was a story today, actually, of an officer who is using the police's surveillance tools to track immigrants on behalf of ICE in violation of the sanctuary laws that we have in place. So we know as long as this data exists and these systems are in existence, there's the possibility that the data will be used to assist with deportations, for instance. There's also a huge risk of discrimination. We know that facial recognition technology, for instance, is very biased against people of color and can be used to misidentify folks. And we don't always hear about those stories because they often just end up in police stops rather than full arrests where no reports are created. But it definitely has a huge impact on communities that are being surveilled every day. And we have a lawsuit currently with the domain awareness system. There's a couple in Brooklyn who has a camera installed by the NYPD that points directly into their bedroom and living room. And so their every move is tracked even inside their home. And it's just emblematic of how much the surveillance state has really increased and crawled into our lives in very small and incremental ways.
Another element of the surveillance state are drones, and your group just put out a report recently on drone technology and how it has exploded. I think people may not realize this is no longer something that's used for search and rescue or, you know, trying to find swimmers who are out in the ocean. I mean, this is used on an everyday basis by the NYPD.
Correct. When you invest this much money into something, it's natural that they would want to get their money out of it. So it's being used in new and novel ways every day. We've heard reports that they're being encouraged to use drones just to track people, just to keep them busy, keep the drones busy when they're not in use for those things that they were originally designed for the important search and rescue things that they actually might have a specific use for. And instead are tracking people at protests, for instance, and creating risks because we don't know how safe drones are for actually flying overhead. The physical safety risk is there as well.
All right, well, we are out of time, so we're going to leave it there. Michelle Dahl, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
All right, it is time now for a break. Coming up, I will talk more about Mamdani's transition when I'm joined by my weekly politics panel. Stay with us.
After 30 years of forecasting for New York, I've learned it takes a dedicated team to cover all the weather our city has to offer.
I'm so honored to be a meteorologist here at New York One because as a Brooklyn kid, this is the station that I grew up watching.
Morning, noon, or night, our team is here to bring you accurate forecasts you can count on, from severe weather updates to our weather on the ones. Watch the New York One weather experts on your TV and on the go with the Spectrum News app.
Your entertainment the way you want it. With Spectrum TV, all these streaming apps are included at no extra cost. So you can watch anything. Movies, series, sports, reality, news.
Here's a look at today's top stories.
Exclusive originals.
We await your orders.
And even more of your favorites with live TV. Stream across your devices and enjoy anywhere.
See you later.
Get it all with Spectrum TV.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
My father was a New York City firefighter. My mission, like his, is to serve New Yorkers in a city that doesn't stop when the sun goes down. Being with New York One since the beginning, I'm now honored to join you even earlier each weeknight. Starting at 8 with New York Tonight, we'll explore the latest news developments, followed by New York One at 10 to wrap up your day. So join me each weeknight starting at 8 right here on New York One.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Yesterday, Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani joined Errol Lewis for a wide-ranging interview about his transition to City Hall. He revealed he has been back in touch with President Trump since their cordial meeting in the White House last month. Mamdani also said he is considering retaining the current school's chancellor, Melissa Aviles-Ramos. Joining me now to talk about all of this and more is my weekly politics panel. Margaret Gork is a professor of political science at Manhattan University. And joining us, as he does every Wednesday, is New York One political commentator Gerson Barrera. Thank you both for being here. So, Gerson, let me start with you. I mean, the mayor-elect made a little bit of news with this, the fact he had spoken to Trump again last week since their love fest at the White House a couple of weeks ago. I mean, what do you make of that? It seemed like he's not really pushing back against the president when it comes to the ICE raids or anything else. He's sort of keeping it cordial.
I don't think you fight with a person. He's a New Yorker, and so is Trump. What are you going to get into a fight? You know, there's a pissing match, if you will, out of nothing, just so you could satisfy the people in the crowd or the ones that are cheering for that. I do say that the whole thing is he handled it superbly. At a young age like that, if I had been in with Trump, they would have arrested me. But so I can tell that he's mature, he's calm, he's focused, which really surprised me in a pleasant way. It's like sitting here with Errol. It was so refreshing to see an adult really at City Hall, not the stupid buffoon that we have leaving soon. And you're laughing, but you know, it's true. He's just, I can't wait to get rid of Eric Adams and see this new mayor. I'm giving the first 100 days, which is, I think, April 10th of next year. It'll be 100 days. It'll be a Wednesday. So I just want to see what he does in the first 100 days. But so far, I'm okay. He sat with Errol, answered the questions. It was kind of, you know, people say, oh, he didn't make news. What? He sat down like a human being. He didn't call anybody a name like, you know, like Eric Adams, who's so disgusting.
Yeah. What else?
Is that okay for my opinion?
I'm interested in the 100-day honeymoon. I don't know. We'll see what you have to say after those 100 days are up.
What can he do? Yeah. Screw up more than Bill de Blasio? Doubt it.
So, Margaret, what did you take away from the interview? I mean, he talked about a lot. He covered, you know, he says he's not yet decided whether to live at Gracie Mansion. Doesn't know yet about the inauguration. There's the school's chancellor question. What did you take?
Right. Sometimes we think that because somebody asks you a question, you have to have an answer. And I think he's being honest. I don't know yet. I'm figuring this out. I'm figuring out where we're going to do the inauguration. All those things take a lot of planning. It did seem like I thought it was a very calm and thoughtful interview. I mean, Errol always asks great questions. And I thought it was a good conversation where we heard a little bit, you know, he mentioned, you know, he may not have pushed too hard against Trump in the office, but he said in the interview, you know, some of these raids are a problem. The separation of a father and his 6-year-old boy just this past week is a terrible thing. So I think he's making his position known on that.
He'll pick his fights, and I think that's encouraging, and I think we need that you know, period of and then how the press corps deals with him and him with the press corps. I think it's important so we can get information out and probably coming back and sitting with Errol and giving us some hardcore news or answering the questions that are going to get tougher for him. By the way, whether he lives on Gracie Mansion or not, that's his business and his wife's. We could see the first child born in centuries there. You know, they're the new married couple. It's your business. I'm being nosy. Sorry about that.
No, he has
I'm being a grandpa.
He has said he wants to start a family at some point.
At some point.
He also talked about his meeting with Eric Adams. They finally met in person, which seemed a little unusual to me that they waited this long. I mean, I actually went back and looked at 2013 when de Blasio took office. Him and Bloomberg met the morning after the election, even though, you know, those two guys didn't have a lot of love for each other either, but, you know,
right.
This is
but you know that Bloomberg wanted to make sure that, you know, the ducks were in a row, being efficient. Yeah, I mean, it's good that they talk. You know, they're going to be very different mayors, but it's good to find out where things are, you know, as one leaves the house.
Yeah. Was there a lie detector attached to Eric? So when he's, you know, because a polygraph, you can't talk to, who believes Eric Adams, anything he says? I mean, seriously, I don't mean this to offend him, because he's offended all of us. Mamdani is showing me something that his capacity to be able to sit down and listen to BS and, you know, remain with a... Sir, do not listen to him at all. Nothing he told you is true.
All right, guys, we are going to take a quick break. I'll have a lot more to talk about with my panel in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
Here's the deal. People need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 on Spectrum News New York 1. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
There's an international travel plan with Spectrum that was an additional $10 a month as opposed to paying a ridiculous amount per day for roaming fees. This literally felt like my old phone carrier was reaching their hand into my wallet and just helping themselves to some of my cash. I like having no surprises when it comes to my cell phone bill. And with Spectrum, that's been the case. So it saved me a ton of money.
Real customers, real savings. To see how much you can save, visit spectrum.com/save.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day with in-depth coverage of the day's developing news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following this morning.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Some morning sunshine possible, clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One, weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum customers.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Well, welcome back to Inside City Hall. I'm once again joined by my politics panel, Margaret Groark and Herson Barrero. So let's talk about casinos. We saw the 3 remaining casino bids all advance to the last stage. It seems like these 3 are going to get approved. The Resorts World in Queens, the one by Citi Field, and then Bally's in the Bronx at the old Trump golf course. What do you think? What does this mean for New Yorkers?
I think it's a terrible idea. I've been very opposed to the building of a casino on Parkland in the Bronx. waterfront parkland. Why are we giving it to Bally's? But just the idea of these 3 casinos, which are all within a short drive of each other and not that far from the Yonkers racetrack casino. I think it's really dumb economic development planning, and I don't think it's going to work out. At least one of them has to fail.
Because you think they'll sort of cannibalize each other's business?
How many gamblers are there? I mean...
Well, even if you had... See, the problem is that, let's face it, gambling is an addiction, and it hurts. When you have an addiction of gambling, it destroys families, and this is proven. I'm upset not only that the shenanigans that politicians do, they're brought off. All of you that voted for it before then and are trying to skip you vote, including Governor Hochul and others that in top positions who approve it because they get, you know, the donations. Part of the problem is that all of a sudden it's going to be money for the MTA. So now we're going to do public policy based on the addictions, and especially there's a whole community of Chinese and other Asians that actually have a problem with gambling, and they're exploited. And as far as Mr. Med, I can't understand, you know, well, we're going to improve Willett's Point. Well, you know, that has been a dump forever. And you know who was the first attorney defending those people there, the Birches? It was Mario Cuomo, and you could check it up. So that's how long it's been. And now all of a sudden this is is economic development. I think you should all be discussing it. And the MTA chairman, oh, no, now we're going to have money. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
People are going to be hurt.
You're 100% right. Like there are much better economic development plans that would produce good things for New York and that would produce good jobs for New York rather than having, like, especially 3 gambling casinos.
Let me ask you guys, changing topics here. Let's talk about Julie Menon, city councilwoman, who appears poised to become the next city council speaker. You know, I've seen sort of the backlash from some on the far left who believe she's too moderate, too conservative, might be, you know, an obstruction to the Mamdani agenda. But, I mean, Julie Menon is, I think, pretty progressive by most standards and is aligned with Mamdani on a lot of his priorities. You know, she says she's for universal childcare and free buses. So what do you see the dynamic like between these two?
I don't like the whole approach, the way it's been done. The vote is on January 7th. She hired a top public relations firm and they're manipulating and, you know, down in someone's maneuvering.
That's always how it works.
No. I've been around, Bobby, you know, 75 years I haven't wasted. I've seen the processes, and I remember some who made history, like in the case of Melissa Margarito and Dan Garodnick, who conceded until the last minute. I was there I can mention so many others. I think Julie Menon has used her wealth, her connections, and I'm troubled by the fact that there hasn't been an actual waiting, and she hires a public relations firm and you put out a press release with 35, I don't care if it's 62 people, which they're not, there's only 51 in the city council. I just think it's disgusting. I personally don't think it's part of the process. She's playing it like it plays with the public. These are her colleagues. She's going to have to work with them. I don't think she's looked very well. She's being very presumptuous. And something could happen, as you know, January 7th, something could happen. They could change their mind. And by the way, it gives a chance, let me just say this, if I may, I'm taking too much time. It could have some members that are not stupid, who already put out their name, say, come over here, Julie. I need more on this. And by the way, last week, I saw her in the hall. Oh, I didn't call anybody, didn't promise anything. She's a liar also. Yes, I called you a liar, Julie.
Oh, God.
What's your take on Julie Menon?
I think this is kind of the way it goes. And it's a power play, right, if you have the votes locked up, to announce it so that people act like the game is over. And Harrison's right. There could be more jockeying. Who knows what will happen? But, you know, there's not a lot to be gained for the rest of us in having it be a fight to the last minute. I don't really care. She seems interesting. Like, in New York, the difference between progressive and, like, kind of middle of the road is you know, not that big. So she's progressive on a bunch of issues. And it seems like she's gotten a lot of the progressives on the council to back her. So we'll see. Yeah. I don't know her terribly well. She hasn't been a big, loud voice, I don't think, on the council.
On anything. Seriously.
All right, we're just through the 2025 election cycle. The new mayor, council members, pretty soon will be in the 2026 election cycle. I mean, we're only about 7 months out from the primaries next June, and we're going to have a bonanza of congressional primaries. I mean, we've got the Nydia Velasquez seat, the Jerry Nadler seat. They're both retiring. We're going to have primary challenges to Adriano Espaillat, to Richie Torres, maybe to Hakeem Jeffries. I think I might be missing a couple. What are you going to be watching next year as far as these congressional races?
First of all, a very wise decision by Nydia Velasquez, and I'm watching the 7th because of the fact that it's changed so much, but yet she was able to hold on to it. She probably could have won another re-election. She decided, I'm bowing out. She's done enough. I'm proud of the fact that she's the first Puerto Rican woman. By the way, she was the first Puerto Rican person, Latina, on the city council. She wasn't elected. She was appointed at that point to serve on a scoundrel that got caught and went to prison. But that's a whole different story that I don't want to bore the people with. But very proud of Nydia's being a first. She stood up for Puerto Rico. I'm concerned about, I hear they're good candidates. Some of them may be announcing soon. I'm watching that. I'm hoping that it's somebody that also takes into account that is a progressive. That's a district that is there. It's part of the communist corridor, runs through that, which is great. I don't have a problem. I have a problem with the bully in the White House and the criminal in chief. The other one I'm looking at is Jerry Nadler's. Jerry's kid, Michael Asher. Let's see if he makes it through.
His kid.
Yeah, no, Jerry's kid. I'm playing. I'm brilliant. But I'm looking at that, see what happens there. I just think that there's a lot of good candidates. There's only 3 women in the race, and it's like, how many people? Like 50 people running there?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that one of the women wins.
Yeah.
What are you watching, Margaret?
I'm hoping that there's not going to be a lot of money and energy spent on, like, fighting between fairly similar candidates in Nadler's district and Goldman's district. I'm also looking, north of the city, not far north of the city. The Lawler race will be very interesting, and there's several Democratic candidates there.
This is probably the most purple district in the state and has attracted a lot of Democrats who are going to be fighting it out in the primary.
Yeah, it is a pretty purple district, and so it's going to be competitive no matter who the Democratic candidate ends up being. I'm more interested in who's going to end up with a majority in the House than, which of several decent Democrats represents the Upper West Side. Maybe I don't live on the Upper West Side, so maybe it's not fair for me to say that.
All right, guys, we are out of time. We're going to have to leave it there. Margaret Groark and Herson Barrera, thank you guys so much for joining us in studio. And that is going to do it for tonight's show. Thanks for watching, everybody, and have a great evening. We will see you the next time on Inside City Hall.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning.
You done with the sports section?
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s. But showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Exclusively on Spectrum.
Your entertainment the way you want it. With Spectrum TV, all these streaming apps are included at no extra cost. So you can watch anything.
Love you, brother. Be careful.
Movies.
I've got this condition where I don't feel pain.
You're a superhero.
No.
Series.
There was another murder in the building.
Sports. Reality.
Here's to a summer you'll never forget.
News.
Here's a look at today's top story.
Exclusive originals.
We await your orders.
And even more of your favorites with live TV.
Welcome into First Take.
Stream across your devices and watch anywhere. At home or out and about. It's the entertainment experience you've been waiting for. Streaming apps, including